Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September GGDA meeting. Yay! One or two people here tonight. Thank you for joining us. Nice full house. We'll get a good some camera shots of the crowd as well as our wonderful speaker here tonight. But before I introduce Mr. Puzzles by Joe himself, I did want to tell you a little bit about the Georgia Game Developers Association and the upcoming Siege Conference. So how many of you have ever been to a GGDA event? Siege, SimFest, GGDA meetings. Excellent. Good number of you. How many of you have been to Siege before? Excellent. Wait, there are more for Siege than other GGDA. All right, fine. That works out anyway. All right, so a lot of you have been involved with Siege before. It is the largest professional game development conference in the South, and now in its 13th year. We've got a lot of great speakers over the years. I'm going to go through some of the events, some of the speakers we'll have there, but I actually want to start with some other upcoming GGDA events to which GGDA members and sometimes outsiders are invited, and all of you are able to join the GGDA. The first one I wanted to let you know about is an event at Tripwire Interactive. Anyone ever heard of a company called Tripwire Interactive? Excellent, yes. On September 18th, they are hosting an event on tech tools for TV, games, and film. You do have to be a GGDA member to attend, but you can get a student membership really cheap, $45. Great way to check it out. And the best thing about this is a bunch of great studios from around Trick 3D, which does some amazing VR work, will be out there. A number of other really good groups talking about the tools that they use. And we're doing this in association with the Technology Association of Georgia. So if you're a member of TAG, you can also go to it. But we prefer you be a member of GGDA heading out to it. So check that out. Information is up in our Facebook group, and I believe that's up on our webpage, as well as in our newsletters. So September 18th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. And again, that'll be another good food event. Probably more pizza. Hooray. Secondly, this will be happening after Siege. How many of you are involved in esports in any way, shape, or form? All right, we're having the first Atlanta Esports Summit will be November 14th and 15th, and we actually got a good discount up there for college students right now. It's right before DreamHack, and will be happening both at the World Congress Center and at the Hi-Res Skillshot offices in Alpharetta. So good chance to visit the Hi-Res folks in addition. The website for that, I believe, is go.skillshot.com. Look up the Esports Summit information, and we'll have discount passes for students available there. So Siege itself, we've got a lot of great events coming up. Very happy to announce the return of Nick Lang, who was a keynote a few years ago, back when he was only the producer on Forza for Microsoft. Now, of course, he's the senior games producer at Amazon Games itself. So provide us great insights into the industry before. Really looking forward to his viewpoint now that he's overseeing so many incredible games. But in addition, we've got sessions on, so many areas. Designing games for children, designing games for elders, quality assurance, how to launch on Steam effectively. Take notes, Joe. And how to make things multiplayer, casting and directing voice actors. That's got a great speaker who Joe likes speaking with, a fellow by the name of Bob Carter. The voice of Odin, Balrog, and I forget a few other really great fighting game. Odin from Smite, yeah. Yes, Odin's in Smite. He's not in most fighting games. It's not a puzzle game. The game design improv, which I know a number of you have taken part in the past. We've got a significant number of sessions on game art, game audio. In fact, some of the Kennesaw State University professors from that Kennesaw campus, you all have heard rumors exist, will be out there demonstrating game art techniques. We actually got a few really good game art professors up at that Kennesaw campus who need to be doing more things down here. So looking forward to them working with you. In addition, we've already announced at least 3 companies that will be hiring at Siege, Eclipse Games, War Drum Studios. I'm kicking myself because I'm not remembering the other off the top of my head. And there will be others who just haven't announced yet, but we will be announcing them over the next few weeks. So if you are interested in getting a job in games coming out there, we'll also have, every year, one of our best events is the How to Break Into the Industry panel. So join us for that. And after this, we'll be having your opportunity to learn how to volunteer for Siege. So stick around to the end for that. But before we get into that aspect, there's another way you can attend Siege. And I was going to bring Dr. Franklin up here to talk about another special opportunity that KSU will be offering its students. Dr. Franklin. Oh, come on. He gives you grades. Louder, louder. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I noted everyone who clapped and who didn't, so good luck on your grades. So, no, I'm only serious. So, no, some of you are already kicked out of the university. Sorry about that. It's just enthusiasm is one of our main features, so make sure you do that early. No, we're very excited to have it. I actually, just a quick comment, it's a rule of any time Andrew speaks, the person who's right after him has to roast him a little bit all the time. I think it is a rule, I'm pretty sure. It's in the bylaws of the GGDA. I'm going to slow that down for you guys who don't speak French. He made that I don't know what that sound is at the beginning. It's a little Frenchy. GGDA, but it's the Georgia Game Developers. So just so you can get that down. And it's a really amazing organization. We love the events they do. And there are some other game design associations around. Obviously, none of them are as illustrious as KSU's own Computer Game Design and Development Club. World renowned, obviously. And so those guys are going to have some cool events coming up. Definitely want to be a part of that. But first, let's focus on Siege for a minute. First off, I don't know if you're going to make a push for volunteers and talk about that later. People always ask me about that. And I will tell you this. I have been to a lot of conventions and been a part of them, from a volunteer to a worker to a speaker to a presenter, everything around. I've never met one that had such a nice, simple, easy requirement for you to get in and be able to attend so many great sessions, especially since if you're really smart and you sign up early, you can coincidentally, be in the session that you wanted to attend anyway and be working and listening at the same time. So it's a pretty good deal. But make sure you're a part of that. For our students, and in fact, it's in our syllabus for our students, that you should attend every time there's a Siege in a semester or there's a game jam. And so since those happen, hopefully every semester, we're going to try and do that. Siege once a year, definitely want to be a part of that. So definitely volunteer for that. We're going to be hosting our booth again. So come for our college fair and rah-rah for our program. But we'll be having our booth there, and we're going to be showing off a lot of our demo games our students have been working on. We do have, I'm not sure how much clearance I have. Have we checked the IDs of the people here? Do we know who's really here? Let's just say that our alleged incubator is happening. So we actually have 14 games in the pipeline right now that are being incubated. So we're pushing some energy in there. We are actually paying some artists to help out here and there, working with some folks doing various sound and editing, and trying to get those games through the pipeline. So we're looking forward to seeing some of those. End of January, so we'll be looking forward to that. But we'll be showing off some of those games and other progress we're making. So definitely be a part of that. Come by our booth and see us. Find out more about the incubator that you can do that. And definitely be a part of the GGDA. For me, this is just my shameless plug. I'll just add in there without any provocation or anything from Andrew, is that if you're not a part of that, the serious question is why. It's very important not only to be a part of it and pay your dues for sure, but be a part of those meetings. They're great. Even if all you ever did was network, you went for networking and that was it would be well worth every bit of it. But the talks and the locations and the people and what they're doing, absolutely something you should be, it's mission critical to your success. So people often ask me once they graduate, how do I get a job? And that's definitely too late to ask that question. You should ask it, how do I get ready before I graduate to get ready for those jobs? It's all about portfolios. It's all about getting work and making games. So every time you have every semester, make one game, put it out there on your portfolio, make a video, learn how to do pitches, elevator talks, etc. All those things are part and parcel. When you come to those GGDA meetings, just for you, then you'll find out, you'll meet people that actually are the ones receiving those portfolios, and they'll give you a lot of great feedback. So definitely, as part of Siege, make sure you come by our booth. If you want to show off games, let me know. I'll be the official, non-official, unimportant coordinator for that. Actually, it's going to be probably, I'm sure, Chow or Rankai, but one of us will be happy to do that for you and help you show off your games. Also, we do portfolio review, and they have an official portfolio review there. So make sure you go and take advantage of that. At least, if nothing else, go and listen to them talk to other people, learn what they're seeing, what they're looking for, what's important to them. So be a part of those great events. Also, if I can sneak one more tiny little shameless plug in there, we will be having a game jam on this campus this fall. I hate to say fall because it still might be 97 degrees, but we'll call it fall in quotes. How about that? So we'll do that. So be a part of that. Yes? It's just our local one. I mean, anyone in the world can participate, but it's our local one. The worldwide one is in January. Yeah. Otherwise I'd have to swerve it in order to beat you for God's sake. That'd be great. Sounds great. So anyway, come be a part of that, and that would be awesome. If you want to join us, it doesn't matter where you are, where you live, where you come from. Hey, come and hang out any old time. Okay? Thanks.
Dr. Franklin, your chance to earn that A. All right, great applause. And I'm reminded that it passed, well, actually, one service we provide for GGDA members is we organize play tests. For GGDA members, we organize play tests. And we've recently, GGDA, we recently organized a play test for a new game called Rogue Company that we can finally talk about. A few of you were here. How many KSU students were at that, one of those play tests? Yes, we brought a bunch of KSU students out to test Rogue. Yeah, I can talk about it. You can't yet. When we were in that room, I realized about half the people working for Hi-Rez in that room were former SPSU or KSU grads, and they had met the Hi-Rez team via Siege. So keep that in mind for moving forward. One thing I did want to ask you before I introduce our speaker, we are adding a new feature to Siege this year, which is actually workshops on the KSU campus on October 15th, on this campus, not up in Kennesaw. One of the things we're looking at is a Unity certification workshop. Not taking the test, but how to pass the Unity certification. How many of you would be interested in attending a workshop on how to pass the Unity certification? Would you be more interested in the basic Unity certification or the gameplay programmer certification? All of you would be interested in the basic Unity certification. All those who'd be interested in the gameplay programmer certification. Good to see. All right, we'll probably do the gameplay programmer one. Then that's a good indication. And now, speaking of Unity gameplay programmers, people who resisted Unity tooth and nail until they are dragged kicking and screaming into it, now they absolutely abhor it, don't they, Joe? I want to introduce one of Georgia's long-standing indie game devs who's made a good success out of it with this clutter of a game. We've got no idea what his talk is about. But Joe has not only been a very active game developer, but a very active member of the community, be it IGDA, his own game dev meetups, which don't happen very far from here. And he can talk about those if he wants, but he's been a big supporter of the community, helps fund our awards helps organize our awards at Siege for indie games, and is now ready to tell you, I don't know, something, apparently, I don't know what. So give it up for Joe Kessel, Puzzles by Joe.
Thanks. Nope. Everybody hear me? Good. When you were 7 years old, actually sometime before you were 7 years old, you made a choice you didn't even know you made. And that choice has affected the rest of your life. Just about every decision. Just about every choice you've made since then, and even choices you didn't make. Am I okay? Am I getting feedback? Okay. In 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you what that choice was. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to review it to see if you'd make the same choice now as an adult, instead of when you were 7 years old still believing in Santa Claus. And if Mr. Sturgeon is correct, that might just change your life. And that begs the question of who the hell Mr. Sturgeon is and what the hell this talk is about. What is the name of this talk? No, we'll come back to this. This is what Andrew decided it was going to be called when we put it on the flyer or wherever to announce it. I suggested How to Survive and Thrive as an Indie, I think in a Facebook message. I also suggested How to Survive and Thrive in Game Dev. Code reuse is the holy grail of software engineering. So this is about 80% of a talk I gave in SimFest this summer. So I just wanted full disclosure on that. But I've tightened it up a bit, and I think it's a better talk. This is the real talk. The beta was in SimFest. So what is the name of this talk? Well, the original talk in SimFest was called How to Succeed at Anything If Oprah, Deepak, and Tony Were Game Devs. And basically what I wanted to do was share new age wisdom with you guys and teach you how to succeed at anything. So here's a quote from Oprah. When you undervalue what you do, the world will undervalue who you are. I kind of like that one. That's okay. Deepak. The most creative act you will ever undertake is the act of creating yourself. Man, that's just nebulous crap. That's empty. Tony Robbins, one of my favorites. If you can't, you must. If you must, you can. Love that. Except when I start thinking about blowing up a school bus or something, and then I go, I can't do that. Oh, wait, I must. No, you need some context. And then that guy in the lower right is me when I graduated from high school. And this is what I wrote in my yearbook. I wrote, you win some, you lose some, but you never break even. Man, I was wise and pithy even back then. But what the hell does that mean? Well, we might figure it out. I think back then, I was just kind of sick of the whole keeping score kind of thing. So, I gave Oprah an A+, Deepak a C-, Tony, mixed bag. I gave myself a D- because I have never flunked anything in my life. Okay? Okay, who am I, and why should you listen to me? I'm the Puzzles by Joe Clutter guy. I am a moderate financial success. And we'll show you this. Sometime this year, around December, I will have netted $1 million from Clutter. Clutter sales will be at about $3.5 million, but I only get to keep a piece of it. And that's over 9 years, 10 depending on how you count it. So it's okay. It's a little better than I would have done if I worked for somebody else. But it's not great. It's okay. It's a moderate success. But it's okay. And by the way, if I was your age, and there's nothing I could have done. There's some experience I have to make me do better choices, but there's nothing I learned technically that I believe I could have done that at your age with the idea of clutter. This is from my last game. I like to scare my customers. I want a level to look really, really hard and then be easier. And they had a love-hate relationship with the smileys, so they're paying for it. That's in this game. This is the smiley split in half, and actually they've already got feedback on this from my beta people, and they actually do love this one. So I try to, again, scare them, but this has no timer even. It's so nice. If you see the vampire guy in the bottom, who looks a little like Andrew, the smiley there, he tells them whenever anything's a nasty-looking one, but probably fun one, so to not scare them too much. Okay, and that's a screenshot. I didn't use any words in my last game. That's by my artist, Sarah Sultan, who did all the collages in my game. I told the whole story with just collages. There was not even help text. Some of my customers long-term hated that, but most of them, the game actually did really, really well, better than my prior 2 games. And that was with no story and no text. So that's about it for clutter. Now let's talk about just doing it in general. So, and why you should listen to me. So we're back to that. I have achieved being my own boss. And that's a big achievement. Because people ask me, they say, working for yourself, do you still have good and bad days? And I tell them, I swear, I still have good and bad days. I have some horrible days working for myself. But my worst day working for myself is still slightly better than any day I've worked for anybody else. I'll tell you that. That's a true statement. Okay, I do what I love. I don't sugarcoat stuff, for those who know me. And I might have some unique insights. Now let's go on to why you shouldn't listen to me. There's a book from the 70s called If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him. And it means if anybody's offering you advice, maybe you ought to think twice about listening to it. Maybe he's got some con going, something you shouldn't listen to, right? You know best what's for you. So again, somebody starts telling you they have the answers for you, you might check into that. Okay, Sturgeon's Law. This is the Sturgeon from the intro. He said 90% of everything is crap. I'm too old, I'm too out of it, I'm too cocky. I don't use GitHub and I hate Discord. Other reasons you shouldn't listen to me. I'm not you. I have my own doubts. Those are my early games. The top two made about $3,000 each because Big Fish was nice to me. The last made a total of maybe $80 over 3 or 4 years, if it made that much. And that's even worse. That's my first game ever. That made a total of $40 in shareware back in 91, 92. And I wrote that game 20 hours a day for every day for about 2.5 years. And it made me shit. But it got me 3 job offers. And it had everything in the kitchen sink in it. But it's ugly. Okay. So, Sturgeon's Law in practice. Now, I'm going to be honest. I cried when I told this story in SimFest. I couldn't believe it. I teared up. But it made the point, and I didn't tear up on purpose. I hate this movie. This is Hardball with Keanu Reeves. But it has a gem in it. It has the 10% that's not crap. The 90% that crap is they have this little league team of 7 and 8, minor league team of 7 and 8-year-old kids, and one of them gets killed in a random drive-by that he's not even connected to. Okay? And when I told that, I really started tearing up because, again, I hate the movie, but I couldn't believe that. Because this movie is aimed at probably 11 and 12, who's it aimed for? It wasn't for adults, but it wasn't really for kids either. So I loathed the movie. But it had this one line by Keanu when they show up for practice the day. And I'm already, I feel the tear in my, I'm not going to, but I feel it in my throat. Because he says when they show up the next day to practice after their best friend, gets killed, he says to him, the most important thing in life is showing up. I am blown away by your ability to show up. And that one line touched me deeply. I said, I swear to God, I cried, and you can see it online. They recorded it. It's just horrible. Okay, so Cassavant's corollary to Sturgeon's Law. If 90% of everything is crap, then 10% of it isn't crap. And it's an awfully big world out there. And that idea itself is 100% sturgeon fresh. That's the 10%. That's one of the 10% things in my talk. That's my opinion, maybe not your opinion, but that's what I'm hitting for. I'm hitting for hopefully hitting those 10% a few times so it's even higher than 10%. But the point is, really, there's crap everywhere. There's crap on Netflix, there's crap in the movies, there's crap authors, there's crap everywhere, there's crap games. But there's tons of stuff in the world you can find the 10%. There's crap friends. I used to tell my son, it's okay to have dubhead friends, it's not okay to let them influence your decisions. And you can find people and hang out with them. Okay. I was born to do this talk. This is back to why you should listen to me. When I was 7 years old, maybe 8, I decided the tooth fairy was probably bullshit. So I lost a tooth, didn't tell my mom, put it under my pillow for 2 nights, nothing. Third day, I showed her the tooth, said it just came out. She helped me put it under my pillow. 50 cents showed up the next day. Damn! Mom's the tooth fairy. And Santa Claus wasn't too far behind. I used to read the encyclopedia. I loved library trips. I used to love reading as a kid. I was amazed that at an early age I figured out you could learn about the world through reading. I have 3 jock brothers. I'm not quite the jock. I do play basketball, but I was never a jock compared to them. And reading was a way for me to be happy. And I wasn't unhappy. They were nice guys. I grew up in a Brady Bunch family. I went to college and realized, Jesus, the Brady Bunch doesn't really represent reality. And I used to watch it as a kid going, that was my life. I didn't have to worry about somebody on drugs or getting shot or anything like that. But anyways, I learned at an early age that I could improve my life, in fact, by just thinking about it. And really, reading's never let me down. I was in 7th grade. I heard jokes I couldn't make sense of. Some sexual stuff that I went, I don't know, is that real? Why is it funny? So I went to the bookstore. When people weren't looking, I was reading Masters and Johnson, Everything You Want to Know About Sex. I was finding answers. That's what I cared about. Also early on, I decided when my brothers really pissed me off, sometimes I used to say to them, sometimes I used to just think it. Sometimes I said it out loud, but usually I just thought it. And it was this: you can swim in my pool someday. Okay? Really arrogant, but I'm 12 years old going, sports is going to end at high school for you guys. What are you going to do then? And I already knew I was, preparing for my future. And I'm not saying that makes me any, smarter than anybody, but that's something I figured out at an early age. I've read a lot of books. I read science fiction, self-help books, etc. I've been searching for truth my whole life. And I'm hoping what you get out of this talk, besides the general way of how to improve your life, is some nuggets of wisdom. And again, my own doubts. So what is this talk really? This is going to be my best talk ever. This is going to be my best talk until my next one. This is going to be my best talk in my mind. It's going to be my TED Talk. Woo! It's going to be a commencement address. It's going to be my motivational speaker talk. All of the above. Super talk, the talk to end all talks. I realize it's arrogant for me to even think about doing this talk. But at the same point, it's ridiculous not to do it. I do have some experience, I have some wisdom, but you can pick and choose. And remember the Buddha. Pick and choose everything I say. Nothing I say should be taken in without going, working it through your own life. And who has value if not yourself? Okay, can you please stop beating around the bush and tell us exactly what this talk is really about and then get on with it? Yes, I will. This is the real and long title for Joe's 10-step program. How to succeed at anything, especially game development, by applying principles from Joe's personal knowledge of pop psychology, self-help books, and learning this. And new age motivational speakers like Oprah, Deepak, and Tony Robbins with 10% Sturgeon-free content and 10 bogus nuggets of wisdom for free. Okay, so let's get to it. So this is the choice you made. Does anybody want to tell me what that choice is? What's that choice? Yeah, and it got a laugh in SimFest too, it did. It's whether that glass of water is half empty or half full. Before you're 7 years old, you actually looked around the world and decided to become an optimist or a pessimist. But there's more than those two choices. That's what I want you to realize right now. Besides half full and half empty, optimism and pessimism, is it a choice or something you just feel? Is there a third choice? Can you make a choice to not just feel? Between action and reaction, there is a pause. Some people just react. Somebody cuts them off while driving, they get pissed off, beep the horn. Don't even think. Boom, reaction. It's like a reflex. But there's a pause you can take. And in the pause, they say, this comes from another program, another self-help program from a few years ago, but in the pause lies the possibilities. You can change your mind. You can think through options. You can pick and choose. You don't just have to get mad, react, whatever. And the question is, for me, that glass of water is just a glass of water. I can use it to water plants. I can quench my own thirst. I can shower with it almost, if I want to. Not a full shower, but And that's how I choose to see it. Neither half full nor half empty, just something useful. Okay, nugget of wisdom 1. Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. I came across that right before the SimFest talk. I love that. But then I got to thinking. Again, it's this other wisdom that, does it really apply? What's wrong with studying winners? Well, there's a cognitive bias that if you just study winners, you're only learning half the game. So what do you learn from studying losers? You learn a lot. Sometimes it's easier to study the losers and not do what they did than it is to study the winners. Because sometimes the winners are there just because of luck, and that'll come up again. Maybe there is something wrong with thinking in terms of winners and losers in general. Ooh, comes back to my high school quote. I knew that early. You win some, you lose some, you never break even. Comparison is the thief of joy. You want to be unhappy? Look to the person to your right and say, Oh, wow, they ate a better breakfast than me. Oh, they got 2 slices of pizza. Oh, Jesus, they don't have a job at night. They just get to go to school. Oh, they have a rich parent. Oh, their parents are still together. Oh, their parents are split up. Thank God, mine is still arguing. You know, you want to be unhappy, start comparing yourself to somebody else. Okay, step 2, read, read, read. There's the If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill 'Em. Those are 2 or 3 other pop psychology books. And even the titles, Looking Out for Number 1. I remember that pissing off my mom because she got it wrong. It didn't mean you thought you were better than everybody else. It just meant you didn't think anybody was better than you. And you took care of your own needs first. And you got to do that if you're going to be useful. There was a book by Gail Sayers, Brian's Song, famous movie. Brian Piccolo was a football player who came down with cancer. They were best friends. He wrote a book called I Am Third. And by that he meant, the full quote was, God is first, my friends are second, I am third. I always thought, even as a kid in 10th grade, I thought he got it backwards. I am first, because I have to have my own shit together if I'm going to help anybody, help my friends. And by helping my friends or whatever, my whole circle, I'm doing what I think of as God's work in my notion of what God was. So again, everything can be flipped and looked at differently. Okay, but you need to question everything. And again, if I read those books and found maybe one piece of advice in each book, I'd still be happy. And really, sometimes that's all you get is a little nugget in one of the books, and the rest of it is the author just rambling on like I am on stage. Okay, nuggets of wisdom 2. You should realize that famous people are quite often experts in something else beyond their specific craft. Do you know what that something is? Self-promotion. Oprah's a talk show host originally, but what she's really good at self-promotion. Tony Robbins, self-help motivation, but he's really good at self-promotion. That's why you know who they are. A lot of people that tried, that were decent at it, but they weren't good at self-promotion, you never hear about them. You know that game everybody's playing? Well, that game might not be better than the one nobody's playing, but they're better at self-promotion. So self-promotion's the only game in town, especially since we're in the post-American Idol world. Being good at something is no longer enough. Creating a great game, no longer enough. You need to know how to self-promote. Okay, step 3, brutally honest self-assessment. And I'm going to be quick on this one. But you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and ask you these questions, or you don't want to be a game dev, you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you want to go cash a paycheck for somebody, okay? But we're going to run down these quickly. I am going to post this online in a couple weeks with links and other stuff. But anyways, here's the questions quickly. How do you handle stress? How do you handle uncertainty? How do you handle negative feedback? How much do you procrastinate? Do you think you make your own luck? How long can you go without succeeding? Can you accept failure? What scares you the most? Are you talented enough? Are you creative enough? Are you a problem solver? What are you risking by doing it? What are you risking by not doing it? Can you see yourself actually succeeding? If you can't look yourself in the mirror and answer these questions honestly, find something else to do. Go flip burgers, go work corporate IT, cash a paycheck. Okay, nugget of wisdom 3. There was a great talk at GDC a couple years ago where a guy came out and he listed 14 pieces of wisdom. And as you listen to him, good advice for game devs. And as you listen to him, you realized, point 1 just seemed to contradict point 5, and and 7. And by the end, he ended it with this thing that, what if you went to a conference and all you heard was conflicting advice, what would you do? And he had a great ending was if you're all conflicted and so forth, all you can do is go out and make great games. It was a great talk. A couple of these come from him, but I want to explain how advice sounds great, but it can be exactly 180 degrees opposite from each other. Trust your gut. Never trust your first idea. Look for ideas everywhere. Stop trying to find your game. Perfect is the enemy of the good. This is the one I believe in. I really do. In fact, It's a repeat slide from a couple years ago from another talk. It's not about being perfect. It's about effort in the right direction. When you bring that effort every single day, that's when transformation happens. That's how real change occurs. And that idea is, in fact, 100% Sturgeon fresh. Okay, so what's the flip side of the perfection is the enemy of the good? Good enough is the dream killer. It really is. It's always a judgment call. You know, clutter's not perfect, it's getting there. But, you know, the 9th version's going out the door within 2 weeks. And it's been good enough, and I'm still heading towards perfection. So I haven't given up. But my superpower is getting shit done and getting it out the door. Your superpower may be something different. And, you know, perfection's good for some things. So it's always a judgment call. Oh, I don't want to see that. Oh, good. Let's go back. Okay. So the last 2 contradictory things you're going to hear over and over again. Don't know if you're quick enough to read it. But it's 2 things that are totally opposite. And neither of them are worth listening to. And it's about your game. Your game's awesome. And your game sucks. And that's what you're going to hear from everybody. In fact, if you don't hear those 2 things, then your game really sucks. Because if you hear from everybody, oh, it's a pretty good game. It's a good game. I like it. It's a good game. Your game sucks. Okay? I love that my first game got called Looks Like a Student Project. Loved it. I wanted to do a love me, hate me game. And my clutter game is not for everybody, but the people that love it, and the people that don't like it still don't understand. There's a guy, when Clutter 2 went out, there was a guy wrote a Big Fish review. He was pissed off at Big Fish for allowing my game on the site. Now, you know your game sucks. It's so bad that this one person thinks nobody should ever play it. Nobody. That's amazing to me. Okay. So finally, you got to stop reading and you got to start thinking about things. This is an old expression I just like. But you don't. You don't want to ever just sits and thinks. Okay? You want to do your thinking elsewhere. Driving, shower, drifting off. I work my pads. Let's go back. You don't want to, just sitting thinking is really pointless. You do get enough time, again, in the shower, driving, walking someplace. You got enough time to daydream then. You don't need to allocate special time to do that. What you should, if you're just sitting around daydreaming, write some code. Draw something, learn a new tool. We'll get to that in a second too. Okay, this is worth you showing up tonight and having the one slice of pizza. Okay? These are 2 awesome books. I will post this. And they are flip sides of different things. The first one, Jesse Schell tells you in The Art of Game Design, a true masterpiece, he'll tell you all the 120 lenses you should look at your game and think about your game doing. Sorry. He'll tell you how to create the great game and all the things you'd think of. Don's book is what you do once you have the game done. How you get it out there, how you get it seen, what should you do today as an indie, etc. They're both great. And seriously, this is the best slide as far as I'm concerned. Maybe tied for number 1. There's one other one coming up. But yes, of course, it's Sturgeon Fresh. Okay, so Maslow's needs hierarchy. How many people know what this is? Good. It's basically you have to take care of your physical needs, those lower needs, before you can deal with the higher ones. So a guy points a gun to your head, you're not going to keep meditating. I mean, if you're a true Zen master, maybe, but, and if you're hungry, if you starve yourself, you can't do the self-action, you just die, You have to take care of those lower needs. So I thought about what this would be for game devs. And the message is you don't want to fight the triangle, right? If you stay up 5 days in a row trying to do that great game, you're going to kill yourself and the game's never going to go out and you're going to make stupid mistakes, etc. But here's the triangle for game devs. You got to pay the rent. You then need tools and equipment. You definitely need dev friends because they'll save you tons of time as well as make the traveling much more fun. At first, you're going to write competent clones of other things. But that's not self-actualizing. That's just being proficient, and you're going to feel good about yourself. Oh, you made the guy jump. You made a Mario runner. Ooh, that's all great. But you haven't done anything original yet. And the top of the pyramid for game devs is original IP. Okay. Yes, I thought that was stirred and fresh. That probably doesn't deserve a stirred and fresh. I might have to remove that if I do that again. But you want to survive then thrive. Had to work in the title somewhere. Respect the triangle. Okay. Moving on. There is no work-life balance. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's bullshit. Okay? It's supposedly the state of equilibrium, which, you're supposed to balance your personal and your professional and your family life and all equal. It's bullshit. Because, especially for game devs and anybody who loves what they do, it's more like triage. It's more juggling. And it's only juggling when all three balls are in the same. It's what do you have to attend to next? There's no balance. It's bullshit. It's whatever's got your focus at the time. And again, it's triage. And do you know what triage is? Triage is in the OR. Person comes in and you take the gunshot before the guy with the sprained ankle. That's what triage is. And true game dev and life balance is really just triage. It's not life. It's bullshit. There's no time you go, I'm really happy with my game. I'm going to spend time with my kids. It doesn't happen. You want to do everything. You can't. That's why it's juggling. And all you do is pull yourself away from one thing to do another. But it's no way as hell as it's balanced because you never feel balanced. Okay. And I wanted to just throw this in. Because while you're trying to do all this triage and balancing, some people have a lot of anxiety about not spending enough time with their family, not doing this, not doing that, not enough for game. But I want you to understand, this is back to the choice in the water. If you are not in physical pain, hot, cold, or hungry, then all other anxiety is self-imposed. I just want you to think about that. If you're worried about anything, you're doing it to yourself. Now, it's not easy, nobody wants to hear lighten up. But if you're constantly worrying about stuff, you ought to examine why. The other things, you're physically cold, you can go turn up the thermostat if you can. If you're hungry, you go work for food, whatever, right? But if you're just anxious or whatever, you're doing it to yourself. So go back to the mirror, look in the mirror, have a talk with yourself, and figure out why you're doing it to yourself, because the buck stops with you. That's one of my messages. Okay. At some point, you have to stop thinking and make a plan. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Ben Franklin said that, and he said a lot of great stuff, but there's early bullshit for you right there. It's even got the classic. By A to B, you're doing B to A. If you hear anything from that of anything, it's bullshit, okay? Because they picked the A to B, B to A, because it's catchy and it's sticky, but it doesn't mean it's true on any level. If you don't know where you are going, you'll end up someplace else. That's Yogi Berra, and he was known for saying shit like this. This is at least a little better, and he's semi-original, and not everything attributed to him was said by him, but at least there's something in there. And then Winston Churchill said, plans are of little importance, but planning is essential. And that's got some depth to it. He's the guy that won World War II. Okay? He didn't shit around. And what he means by this is, yeah, you got a plan. You can't just wing it, especially as a game dev. But you also can't stick to your plans. As soon as the war starts, they're gone. That's what he means. They're not important, but you got to do them. Okay. Nugget 7, I'm just going to put this up really quick. I'm going to link to this. This is all the ways, I think there's like 256 there. This is all the ways your brain fools yourself into believing it's right when it's wrong. And it's called cognitive bias. And it's like one of the things is studying winners. When you study winners, you don't bring in the luck factor. And you attribute luck when it's or you attribute skill where it's just luck. Because it's like a survivor's bias. What do I need to do? Fix it? Okay. Should I just hold it? Okay. Bad enough. Okay. So anyways, I'll put this up, but this is all the ways you screw yourself up and believing bullshit. Okay. When you're lost in the jungle, it's not the elephant that kills you, it's the 1,000 mosquitoes. And that's a repeat slide too. And at some point, with all your planning, what you really do is have to put your other hat in and poke holes in it and figure out how you can fail. And this next quote comes from a movie called Body Heat. And it's one of my favorite lines in a movie ever, and I do think it has some merit. So I'm going to try to read it in my best Mickey Rourke impression. Anytime you try to do a decent crime, you got 50 ways you can screw up. If you think of 25 of them, then you're a genius, and you ain't no genius. Okay. I spent my whole career reacting to bad things. I believe if you sit down and spend 3 hours on a problem, you might think of 80 things out of 100 that will bite you in the butt. But you won't think of the 20. And I made my early career out of being the guy that when the 20 happens, I'm right there plugging the hole, fixing it on the fly. It's just choices. Okay, nugget number 8. Don't fall in love with your own opinion. Has anybody heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Yeah. This is, in a nutshell, it's stupid people don't know they're stupid because they lack the same quality to judge their intelligence as intelligent. They're not intelligent enough to judge their own intelligence, basically. But it could be anything. People that think they're funny but aren't suffer from the Dunning-Kruger because they lack, if they really knew whether they were funny or not, they could actually be funny, right? But people that think they're funny that aren't really is because they lack that skill of what it takes to be funny. It's basically the skill to do something is also the skill you need to use to judge it, okay? And Mount Stupid is there's people with a little knowledge that think they're awesome. You don't want to be there. So part of this is learning the difference between luck and skill. If you get lucky early in life, you could be on top of Mount Kruger. You don't want to be your own guru living on Mount Stupid. You really don't. There's maybe one person in the world that lives their whole life, that way, but it won't be you. Eventually, Mount Stupid will have repercussions. Okay. At some point, you have to stop planning and start doing. This is one of my favorite from Tony Robbins. Lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Just keep going. Okay. This is the other slide that, to me, compares. This is my best idea ever. When I was a kid and I used to think, you can swim in my pool someday, I started thinking about leveraging my future. And that's not the right way to put it, but that's the way I used to think of it. It's really leveraging your present for a better future. Okay? So what you want to do when you have spare time, read a book. Learn a new skill. Improve at something. Imagine your better future. All of those, to me, is like buying a lottery ticket that you're not going to scratch off till down the road. It's a lottery ticket of time. That's the way I think of it. It's probably one of my few original ideas other than clutter. And it's worked for me. And I think it's sturgeon fresh because of this. Here's it in a nutshell. Everything you do is in preparation for a future path that you can't predict. That's everything. There's only one person. In SimFest, I named one and somebody shouted out another one, but the only one person I know that from a kid on knew what he was going to be as an adult to a degree was Steven Spielberg. He's 11 and 12 years old sneaking onto 20th Century Fox lot and opening up an office. And by the time he's 18, he's directing Columbo episodes. Okay? He knew. Now, he didn't know he was going to be Academy Award. He didn't know the full path, but he knew. Everybody else doesn't know. There's no way what you thought you were going to be, how many people were going to be astronauts or baseball players or whatever. What did you want to be when you were 7? Anyways, you'll never know. Right now, you guys all want to be game devs. I would say in 5 years, at least a third of you will be in IT if you're programmers. If you're artists, you might be working for something else that's not game related. At least a third of you, I think, is a good number. You never know. I graduated from college, took 2 years off, thought I wanted to teach because that's all I had the concept for. And then I fell in love with programming. And then after being good at programming for about 6 years, I taught myself C only to learn C because I saw it as the wave of the future. I was a COBOL programmer. And I picked a game because I wanted to make learning C fun. But I've been a puzzle guy since I was 5 years old. I love puzzles. So after I created my first game, I went, this is what I really want to do. And then I was a stupid tools guy for about 5 or 6 years, and that sucked because I wanted to create my own games. And then I got lucky. I created that slide. Actually, I think I showed you the slide of the horrible games. But at least it got me a job offer. And then, anyways, we'll go on. Step 9, refactor yourself. And this is another repeat slide. You got to get better at getting better. You need to apply good software engineering principles to refactor the way you get your job life done. And that's only because efficiency matters. All that matters is how you choose to spend your time. So what I'm trying to sell, in a sense, is spend your time now better so that your future's better. Do something useful. Netflix and chill is fine, but even watching TV my whole life, I'm a TV addict. But I was always doing homework. I was reading with the TV on. There's very few shows that made me stop and pay attention. But nowadays, if you're not refactoring your life, the guy next to you is. And they're going to get the job instead of you, or they're going to be ahead of the curve, et cetera. And I'm not saying it's a rat race or anything like that, but it's amazing. When I do something 3 times that I've talked myself into doing it because it's manual and not automating it yet, the 3rd time I do it, something kicks in my brain and says, take care of this problem. I'm sick of this 20 seconds that I'm spending that I know I'm going to spend again, where if I spend 2 minutes, it'll be done. And then the next time it'll be a button push, a button push, a button push, I'll stop thinking about it. Okay, nugget 10 is your habits. The difference between an amateur and professional is in their habits. And this is sort of the refactor yourself, but an amateur has amateur habits. They do it whenever they want. A professional habits. There's a great book called The Artist's Way that basically says you want to be an artist, do it every day. You want to be a writer, write every day. You want to be a programmer, program every day. Okay? You can't do that, find something else to do. Because somebody else is doing that every day, and they're going to get better. You've heard about the 10,000 hours of mastery, etc. Okay? You got to put your time in. And again, the habits will work themselves out. We can never free ourselves from habit, but we can replace bad habits with good ones. I like that. My first game, I put this in. My first game, just to have a story, was half a self-help book on decluttering your life. And the other half was a story about the guy who ran the seminar. But I put this in the middle, and this was semi-original. This I've heard in different formats over the years afterwards, but when I put it in, it was more like my father and a couple things I learned in college. But I put it with the bed test. And I've heard it with other things too. But for the bed test is this. I had the main character say this. Commit to making your bed every day. This is in the middle of my clutter game. Some people hated this. They turned off the story. Some people loved it. I got pages. I got a 4-page email from this alone put in my game that said this changed her life. Commit to making your bed every day. I kid you not, if you do this one action every day for a month, it can completely transform your life. Go ahead, try it, prove me wrong. But to prove me wrong, you will actually have to do this every day for a month. You might be surprised at the result. That was my main character said that to them. And what I like about it is true. You can say it's bullshit, but you can't say it's bullshit without doing it. And if you do it, you'll find out it's not bullshit. Because if you actually do this, and I went further, after you make your bed, you should just stand back and for 20 seconds just appreciate what you accomplished. I got this letter from this lady. At the time, I found out later she was older, and at the time I thought she was like 19 or 20. I thought I created hell in this little family where I empowered their daughter to stand up for herself the first time ever. Because this is something that makes people who haven't taken charge of their lives realize they can take charge of their lives. And I'm not saying it works for everybody, but for this one person, man, they went nuts. And again, they wrote a 4-page letter of that. They pointed to this, and there's another thing in my game that talks about, it's one of my pet peeves of myself, my father, etc. They kid him about OCD. My wife kids me about OCD. I think OCD is like cholesterol. There's good and bad version of it. I have an ABC rule I use for glasses. If you know an object's going from A to C, don't put it at B to take a timeout. So a dirty glass on a counter right next to the dishwasher just really pisses me off. And she mentioned that in the 4-page letter that she couldn't eat. I infected this girl, this woman actually. I think she's 40 when she went through she said she couldn't go into the kitchen anymore and see a dirty glass without taking care of it. So my OCD has now propagated, slightly. So, okay. So, step 10, how to be your own best brand. Because it's all self-promotion, but you have to have something to promote. You don't build a brand overnight. Take the long view, create something every day, buy those lottery tickets. Appreciate the luck when it happens. But the hard work and skill are more important. Follow the path to find out who you are. Bonus nugget, you are not your art. Although it's all self-promotion, you are not your art. You are not your brand. You are the person that chooses every day how you perceive that glass of water of life. Recap of the 10 steps real quick because we're running out of time. Choose to choose, read, self-honesty, think, priorities, plan, mitigate downside, take action, refactor yourself, market yourself. Over to the right is the real steps, right? Read, think, plan, take action, market yourself, okay? The rest is qualities you sort of need inside to do things. Okay, it starts with belief. This is another repeat. We are self-fulfilling prophecy machines. For good or bad, we do exactly what we believe we can do. Without belief, there can be no action. Without belief, we are just talkers, not doers. Okay, pop quiz answer. What was the name of this talk? So, how many mistakes do you see up there? There's several. Why is there an extra T in what? Why is there a period instead of a question mark? Why is answer there instead of just pop quiz? Yes, I am going to give you the answer.
You missed one. What is the name? Because it's still current. You're not in past tense yet. You missed a mistake, Joe.
No. No. Anyway, so let me impart my final piece of wisdom. What, W-H-A-T-T, was the name of this talk? Work harder all the time. What? W-H-A-T-T, i.e. buy those lottery tickets of time. So here's my question. If a guru told you that, what would you think? Damn straight, because that was total BS. That was bullshit. That was the first ending. That was the first ending because this guy changed the name of the talk. And I came up with what, and I said, that's really good, but I don't believe in what? I don't believe in work harder all the time. Horrible. This is something I read. 1980, before all you guys were born. I love this thing, and I carried it with it all my life, and I added just a little thing tonight to this. Work smarter, not harder, and be careful of your spelling and grammar. Okay? I remember this because it always pissed me off when people that crossed their T's and dot their I's but weren't talented got ahead at work. It really pissed me off. But getting along with other people is a skill. You can't be a prima donna. You can't be the smartest guy in every room you're in or you're in trouble. And you don't want to be. You want to be the stupid guy in the room, actually. You want to surround yourself with smart guys. Okay, so here's my real final piece of wisdom. This is my elevator advice version of the talk. Also something from 1980 that I've carried with me. It's called the VIP method. Do you know what VIP stands for? Correct. This is how you become a very important person. And in a nutshell, this is my entire talk. Vision, initiative, perspective. You need the vision, you need a dream, you need something you want to do, something to believe in. Then you need to take action. And then if you don't have perspective, you're just going to flail. You got to learn about your market, whatever you're trying to put. You got to learn tons. But without perspective, you're just wailing, whatever. Horrible. But that's the talk in a nutshell. That's how you succeed. And of course, it's Sturgeon Fresh. And here's my final thoughts. I am not Oprah, Deepak, or Tony. I am not immune to Sturgeon's Law. I will be happy if you find 10% within this talk that was not crap for you. I thank all of you for showing up and for allowing me to be here today. You are the person that chooses every day how you perceive that glass of water of life. Your path is your own. I wish you safe travels.
We are going to open this up for questions, and then we will serve the Clutter cake because another round of applause. Clutter 9 is now in beta.
Correct.
And I'll prime the pump with the first question. Joe, if you were a programming student, wannabe game designer who just saw this talk, what would you think was crap? No, what would be the first thing you would do upon leaving here? What would be the task you would do upon leaving this room?
Oh, God, I don't know. So the one thing I think you guys don't do as students, as programmers, is enough. Because I deal with you guys with game jams and stuff, and I've hired some of you to do stuff for me, etc. And like with Unity, Unity is so much fun. You can throw a bullet at somebody, and then when the bullet hits them, you write the collision detector. You just react it, right? Take something in the real world and model it. Cribbage. Chess rules even, I don't care. Take something that's real that when you do it, you can tell whether it's right or wrong instead of, oh, the bullet came close enough, it looks good enough. Do something that needs something. Write a little program that figures out, the day of the week you were born on. I don't care. But take something that has a right and wrong answer and model it. The first serious game I tried to do, and it was on MP Basic in 1980, is I play the game Othello, but I hate the fact that if you make a wrong move on Othello, you've lost, because if you screw up, you can't reset the book. It's just horrible. So I wrote a program that just kept track of one player moved, the other player moved, and at least it flipped the things right for you. But it was so boring. It took me just 2 weekends, but it was excruciatingly painful. And now programming's fun. But do something interesting. Do a board game. In January, I'm probably going to offer a prize. We'll announce it here. I'm going to offer a prize for somebody who can write a Puzzle by Joe minigame, which means it has to be random, it has to have variations, etc. And I'll map this out, but anybody who wants to do it, they can submit it, and then I will, if there's a certain level of goodness, I will award some sort of prize for that. Because I don't see it. I see, I'd even be happy with a Mario that it has randomness in it. That's not just this procedural runner. Okay, next question. So I would go home and write something like that, is my point. I would probably try to write Sudoku tonight. Yes, that's my email. Well, at the Game Jam, I will be announcing it and stuff. And I will be at the Game Jam in January. And probably here, but if not in one of the places, and I will probably open it up to every Georgia. Yeah.
Okay, any advice for those of us who don't fall as heavily into the coding part of it? And also, if you don't wind up here, I'm just going to shill for Scout Atlanta.
Okay, good. I hope you draw every day.
Yep.
Thing
doesn't leave my side.
Create a comic book. I don't know. I mean, you need something to do every day. So for art, get better at your techniques. Get quicker. One of the things, I hired a person for my 6th game because I was thinking there was things. But anyways, she did this postcard and did a 24-hour compression of her doing a Wonder Woman-like character with a trident.
Ooh, fun.
And she did this 24-hour compression, into 15 minutes. And from watching that, I knew she could do anything, because Again, you don't, and I have other artists that are good. I find strength and weakness, right? My current artist is doing collages because at first, when I first ran into her, she wasn't doing well with UI and a few other things, right? But her collage sense was really great, so she did the story from the last 2 games, basically, but in collages and great stuff and so forth. But
Yeah.
you got to do something every day at least. And actually, yeah, you know, to model the Sudoku thing, do fan art and try to make it look like the person, whoever you're fanning over or whatever, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, story and or art person here. Thanks for advice. It's a good idea.
Yeah, just, you know, do something consistent that's a little more long-term that, you know, way back in the day I used to say create a game, right? Because it'll at least get you in the door, because that's what my first game did. But now you need several games, and you need your portfolio on the web. You need some place where somebody can just go and go, wow, potential. And that's what you're looking for, potential, and you like to see some growth. And then, like I said, these videos, the compression video was just, you know, just blew me away. And I think everybody, you know, should have that on the art side. On the programming side, I want to talk to them, and I give them a little task that either they do it or they don't, and then I go from there. So, and I've really only had one programmer out of those 7 or 8 that was worth anything. He's even here, and we won't embarrass him by making him stand up, but he's the reason I finally got over my Unity hump. So, I still swear at him every day and love him and hate him at the same time when I come over stuff in his code. So, sorry. Another question?
So in a market like this, or in any market, if you don't like the market, do you still develop games for the market, or just leave the market and wait till it's a good market or something that you want to develop in?
So what I did that worked 9 years ago is I created a franchise in a market that I knew I would at least get seen by 100,000 eyeballs. That's not doable today. The casual PC space, the only reason I'm still alive is this franchise effect. That's another talk and so forth I don't want to get into. But today, if I was going to attack it, I think what MobilityWare or somebody like that's doing, and I think it's even still doable at the student level. If you created a game a month and you got the game a month out there and they all sort of advertise each other's game, I think you might be able to eventually, you know, build something. Other than that, it's so hard to get seen. And even if the middlemen make money, the people that'll publish your game and take 30% or whatever, if they'll publish your game, and there's people that get on the banner and they still don't make any money. I mean, it's such a crapshoot right now. But I think new markets are emerging, and there's a thing, some companies are becoming aggregators again. You're going to eventually get to a point where you don't have to go to the App Store to buy that new game. You'll be able to go to something that has their curated best apps. You might even have to pay, I think, $5 a month to use any of their apps. But once that happens, then at least you have a spot to maybe pitch your game and get it seen. Right now, it's luck, and it's not a good spot. So.
So, considering the talk that you gave, one thing that you talked about is make sure you're being self-driven, focus on the future that you're trying to create. I know myself, I'm a freshman, but I've been trying to teach myself a lot of skills for classes I haven't even taken yet. Mm-hmm. And one issue that I've ran into is I charge forward headfirst sometimes, and I don't know what mistakes I'm making. So what communities can I find myself in where I get effective criticism and feedback so I don't start bad habits and don't find myself, thinking I'm getting ahead, but actually pushing myself further back in the process?
Right. So what I heard from all that is I'm a fish surrounded by water here and other fishes. And where do I find the other fishes? So that I don't swim by myself. Look around. I mean, you're already there. The GGDA, I have a meetup once a month at Dave & Buster's on the third Tuesdays. There's your game, what's it called, the game club here? Game Design and Development Club. I've come in and spoken to them. There's the game jams. Just if you're in an interview, you have to push yourself a little bit. But find somebody that you like, that you want to actually do a game with, that and if you can pick them, pick that they're more motivated than you or something, right? If that's what you need, right? So.
When starting out, how do you stop from being too ambitious and actually finish a game?
My Modern Problems, that one I showed you, had everything in the kitchen sink. And I did it over 2.5 years. I put a mastermind game in it. It had variations on variations on. You definitely have to cut the scope back, right? But variations, my trick, I put something in the game 2 weeks ago, 2 days before beta. I thought of an idea, but then I immediately went, oh, that's only 2 minutes to try out. That's a flag, put it in, right? That's okay. But if you're doing, you're doing a massive multiplayer, cut that out. Get something to work first, right? Remember the Maslow's triangle there? Before you can go do your original IP that's awesome, that's gonna, be the next Minesweeper, you need to prove you can clone something quick. You need to get better at your skills. And by the way, that's your answer. It's like weight training, which I don't do obviously, but you can't go for the 500 pounds until you build up for it. But if you build up for it, the 500 pounds is easy. So pick smaller things, and again, one last thing I want to say, clutter is my day job. I wanted to create mini games. I'm not sick of clutter. I love it. I love what I love what it's done to my life, etc. But clutter is my day job. And I'm 62, I'm hoping I'm going to flip the switch in about 2 years and care less about the next clutter and more about the Joe Weirdness games. For you, for Scope, walk before you can run and prove it. Prove it, then people will at least pay attention. Then if you prove it with something smaller, you'll get other people that want to join you. Whereas all you ever do is talk about the awesome thing that's down the road that you're never going to finish, and you can't show anybody because you haven't gotten far enough on it yet. To me, that's an easy choice. It might be different for you. Again, I'm Buddhist. So.
All right, so everyone applaud the Buddha. So now we're all going to